Next, an Israeli shell hit the only Catholic church in the Gaza Strip this Thursday. 3 people were killed, 10 others wounded, including the parish priest. The late Pope Francis, who died in April, had regularly spoken with that priest about the situation in the war-ravaged territory. The shelling of the Holy Family Catholic Church in Gaza also damaged the church compound, where hundreds of Palestinians have been sheltering from the 21-month-long Israel-Hamas war. Israel issued a rare apology and said it was investigating. Pope Leo XIV this Thursday renewed his call for an immediate ceasefire in response to the attack. Here at France 24, Charlotte Lamb has this.
These are the streets surrounding the only Catholic church in Gaza, the latest target in Israeli strikes. Since 2023, Catholics, Orthodox Christians and Muslims, as well as children with disabilities, had been sheltering at the church's compound. On Thursday, many were rushed to hospital after shelling tore through the building.
This is an unjustified act by the Israeli occupation to target civilians. We're around 400 displaced people in the church. This is a barbaric act.
Among the injured was the parish's priest, who became a close friend of Pope Francis in the final months of the late pontiff's life. Leading the international condemnation, the world's top Catholic.
For we know that no cry of the innocent victims of violence, no lament of mothers mourning their children will go unheard.
And France, which once oversaw the territory in the name of protecting Catholics in Palestine, its foreign minister calling for the carnage in Gaza to stop. The Israeli military says it's aware of the damage caused at the church and is investigating. In a rare move, the foreign ministry posted an apology on social media, insisting the state would never target churches or religious sites and regretting any harm to civilians. But for the wounded and grieving here, words of remorse offer little comfort.
Charlotte Lamb here at France 24 with that report. Let's bring in Seema Gupta, our correspondent in Rome, joins us from Sperlonga. Of course, Seema, the fact that Pope Leo angry about this attack on the only Catholic church in Gaza is why we're joining you. What has His Holiness been saying? What's his feeling about it all?
Well, they've issued a telegram, essentially, sent by the Vatican #2, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, but quoting Pope Leo, of course, expressing his condolences for the victims. Of course, 3 people died in that attack and many were injured as well. He said he was deeply saddened to learn of the loss of life and injury, and he expressed his closeness to the parish priest, Father Romanelli, as well as the parish. As we saw in that report, Father Romanelli, of course, having had a very close relationship with the previous Pope, Pope Francis. He often called him during the space of this conflict over many months, often daily, to check on the situation in there and how the people who were sheltering in the only Catholic church in the Gaza Strip, how they were doing. Now, the Pope Leo also said that he expressed profound hope for dialogue, reconciliation, and an enduring peace in the region. He reiterated his call for a ceasefire, so wanting very much for peace to be there and referring to the strike as a military attack. So very clearly continuing the idea of a call for the ceasefire, or wanting this violence to end.
One wonders if the papal call for peace will be heard by the warring parties.
Yes, exactly. I mean, this clearly is a strike right on the Catholic Church. And the hope is that, as far as the Pope is concerned, he's mentioned it on several audiences, of course, mentioning the issue of the suffering of the people in Gaza and the violence that is happening there and the humanitarian condition, expressing his sorrow about the dire conditions, but also calling for that ceasefire. Now, someone else who also mentioned very strong words was the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. Now, Giorgia Meloni and her government generally have been supporters of Israel and the government of Benjamin Netanyahu. But in this particular case, striking a Catholic church, injuring the parish priest, killing 3 people, there was a very strong reaction. She put the blame squarely on Israel, saying that the attacks against civilians for months like this is simply unacceptable. No military action, she says, can justify such behavior. Now, there's been growing unease here in Italy within the ruling coalition, the right-wing coalition, about this military campaign in the Gaza Strip and concern about the Israeli military action there. In May, Ms. Maloney herself did talk about the fact that Israel must respect international law, and she did say that the humanitarian situation there was dramatic and unjustifiable. So very strong words this time round when there's been an attack on the lone Catholic Church in the Gaza Strip. So Italians, clearly also the Italian government, wanting to see the humanitarian situation helped, and this kind of violence, they describe it as being simply unacceptable.
Seema Gupta in Spurlonger with the take from the Vatican. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.